you're just discovering this channel, welcome to Kami's World. And this is a relatively new channel. I don't have much content. I don't even have content, to be very honest, but I have another alternative channel, but that one is more of business, kinda like I do not want to mix more of my lifestyle videos with those ones. So I said, hey, start from scratch, just do something. But if you just bumping onto this channel, Kami Watai's channel will be more about lifestyle and you know, day-to-day life, you know. I honestly just chose today because it's a relatively it's a day that brings about a lot of emotions, and I felt like so wondering, leo ni siku gani? Leo ni Mother's Day. Like yeah, if you're watching this, obviously you won't be watching it. I will upload it if not today, tomorrow. So but I'm recording it on Mother's Day. So Mother's Day for me, my goodness, ni ile siku yenye obviously I am a mom, and I celebrate me every single day because I feel like I am a good mom. I cannot wait for the day. Oh, of course my kids do tell me, mommy, you're the best mom in the entire world, and you know, but I cannot wait for them to really understand what parenthood is about, and they will obviously understand the sacrifices that I have to put. You know, they see me working every single day. My son is so, you know, like he's that one person who is so in touch with everything I do. He wants to help around. So same thing with my daughter. They're young, but I can see they do appreciate every single thing I do, even though they do not understand. It is their right. So back to today. So today is Mother's Day, and you wake up and everywhere on the green app, that is WhatsApp, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on the radios, TVs, everybody's talking about Mother's Day. But on this particular video, I want to speak about what it is like to actually lose your mom or your parent at a young age. And today let's talk about moms. I'm not saying dads are not relevant, but leo acha tuongelele our mothers. I passionately speak about people checking on their moms because I feel like there's so many things I miss out on, and there's so many things that happened in my life, and I wish my mom was around. And just like even if not to just seek that motherly advice, there's so many things that I experience, and I wish I truly do wish my mom was around. So today is that one day that I wish I could wake up one time and just make that phone call and tell her, hey mommy, happy Mother's Day. So honestly speaking, because it's so cliche to say check on your parents. We are so busy sometimes with our lives that we forget they're also getting old. But trust you me, there are those of us whose parents actually didn't die from old age, they just passed on. And I keep saying one time that I truly pray to God because I saw how it was like for my mom when she was sick. When she was ailing, our last born was like 4 years old. Was it 3 years or 4 years? Yes. And every single time she would say, Mungu naomba tu nipe masiku mingi kidogo niache mtoto wangu akiwa umri wa kujiombea chakula or something. Like it's never a parent's wish to die and leave their children behind. But you know, life happens and we don't have a choice and we do not choose. And so for me, I feel one thing that I so passionately pray to God about is that I live long enough to see my kids blossom. I really do feel for those of us, and I feel no matter how many years or time passes, you can never forget a loved one. You know, it's easy for you to tell people forget, move on. It never gets easy, and that is why I'm very, very mindful even when approaching or talking to people who have just lost a parent. I am never in a haste to tell them to, you know, it is well, it is going to be okay, because trust you me, nothing makes sense. I mean, looking back at what I felt when I walked into that hospital ward and found my mom had passed on that morning, it is still as fresh. It is usually so fresh. And it's days like today that triggers a lot of emotions. You know, it brings you to those days when you had your mom around, the things you used to do together that you can no longer do together. For me, I feel like I'm not the only one experiencing the loss, but my kids too, because they don't have a grandma, you know. So it got to a point, I remember, in as much as you think you've really, you know, strong And you know, they say you never really know how strong you are until you're able to actually even narrate such occurrences without shedding a tear. But trust you me, the heart still bleeds. Now for me, I think the most difficult part now started when my kids got to an age where they would ask ushago kwetu, you know. Of course we'd go to our country, they would meet their great grandma, that is now my grandmother, but they would ask shoshe too. And so one time and I think I have that video on my other channel, that is Chapati Mistress. So when I lost my mom, her wish was to be that she be laid to rest at Langata, so that's where she was buried. And so years down the line I figured now my kids are, yeah, so I thought let me just go back and start now the process of tracing her grave, because there wasn't anything like permanent done. I was even gambling because the most we did was just like cement roughly. I remember the cross was there, but obviously like 13 years on, it was like 12 years down the line, I didn't even expect to find anything substantial that would really prove that was her grave. And so after several, you know, times going there and not being able to tell, even though we could remember it was this particular point, we couldn't really pinpoint and say this is the exact grave, because most of them actually do look identical. If you've been to Langata, it's such a vast cemetery. So I just resolved to actually now using their offices, and you know, all you have to know is the date of when she died and the day she was laid to rest. So in fact it didn't take me much. Of course it was tedious, but we got to identify her grave. And I was really happy, to be honest. I was very happy. And you know what really helped me know that was her grave is that the cross had just fallen, because it was obviously so many years, but the fact that it wasn't like planted on bare soil, even though termites had a bit of, you know, you cannot, the name was no longer there, but the shape. I had our photo from the burial, the funeral, so I used that one, and I was able to see, obviously we had the grave number, and the lady who was helping me now identify it said, oh wow, yeah, now we cannot even assume or say it's a guess, because the cross was there, although badly damaged, but it was still there. It is still there up to date now. We are even actually now just making, you know, an effort into making it a very beautiful place where, you know, because they say they do not what do you call it, lakini hawafu, they don't destroy until, yeah, on the permanent section of Langata they wait until it's like over 100 years. So you can imagine, I mean, we'll live long enough to still be able to go there and visit her whenever. And yes, I just undid my bed, it's so bad. But back to today. So I took my kids there. I should have recorded that, but let me tell you, it was such an emotional time, because the innocence, the girl doesn't even understand nothing. So she was like, so hapa ndo shosho wako, okay. She didn't know much, and I just remember my boy saying, tuwekea shosho maua, and then he was trying to explain to the sister, when you die you're buried and all those things, but they said this is where shosho is, so they know. And so fast forward to experiences and how it's like to actually not have a mom around. So when I was pregnant, honestly, I think it was the most difficult period, because I think girls develop this kind of friendship, especially when you now give birth and you know what it takes to actually be a mom. So many fasts, so many things that I didn't know I had to figure out on my own. Literally nobody to guide me through motherhood, learning from your mistakes, and it's a good, beautiful journey. But again, you couldn't help but wish, oh, I've never had a place I can take my kids and say leo naenda kuachia mam kidogo. So literally just been me and my babies, and lakini every single time I think of all the things that they are also missing out, because you know, in our culture kuna hii msemo husema mundu ashuhaga nuoshoe thio gashuhe na shuguo, you know, so yeah, translated into a grandma is supposed to be that go-to person for the grandkids. Like anyone else could be hostile, anyone else could be fierce, could be, lakini your shosho is supposed to be that person that you play, joke around, and yeah, so my kids do not have that. They cannot, but we thank God. And so when days like today happen, in as much as you want to celebrate yourself, you cannot help but go back to the days. And that was how many years ago now? It's now coming into 14 years ago. And so for me, I think the most challenging bit was just being the only girl and the firstborn. Sometimes you just have to, in as much as I was used to the chores, you now have to even bear more burden of actually now being like a mother figure to your siblings. And I remember my mom passed on under very, very sorry, occurrences or situation. And yeah, so sometimes when I look at how life has turned out, you really do complain. When you're experiencing loss and when you're going through it, nothing makes sense. You question God, you ask so many whys. And yes, I'll never sit and say that I would ever get over my mother. I can never get over her. I just learned how to live with it and accept what happened. As a big sister, I think it really just humbles me, especially and the other time I was seeing my brother off to school. He was left, at 4 years, and now he's 20. So many things transpired that he even now is finishing school so late. But you say, I have always been that. I inspire. I keep talking to him and making him see that it's better late than never. So he's completing his school. So I didn't want this to be long and boring, but bottom line for me is, let every single Mother's Day and Father's Day be a gentle reminder that all these things we take for granted, all these things that look like normal, they aren't. There are people who haven't had that privilege. At least I even got to experience my mom for 16, 17 years. There are people who just lose their parents at birth and they grow up never having experienced their love. And so when you're busy complaining about a situation, there is a person who has had it worse. And it's just, my chatterbox. But it is just a constant reminder of make every single day count. Let your parents know you love them when you can and wherever you can, because you never know. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, and do not wait to live with the regrets of I wish I did this or that.